Hi, Ivan. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Elise. Hey,
Hey,
everyone. Thank you for joining.
yes, already 20 people are here in the audience. Really glad to have you guys today with Ivan. And we'll talk today about Allbound. Is Allbound the new Outbound? And I know that, Ivan, you have built really great playbooks that you will share in live. So I can't wait to share it with you guys. Just before you can go on the chat. Hi, Robert. So you have the chat on the corner, right corner. So don't hesitate to ask
Robert,
any question, and we'll do this live the more dynamic we can. And yeah, this is really the goal of this live. It's also unlock your challenge, your issues. So you have 1 hour to ask all your questions to Ivan. And for the one who doesn't know me, I'm Eloise. I'm the community builder and partnerships at La Growth Machine. This is a sales automation tool. Ivan is one of our powerful user, and I also built the Playground, which is a community really dedicated to sales and growth to help you guys to improve your skills as a sales or a growth with this kind of events like today, but also with a forum when you can discuss everybody can discuss every minute about strategies and tactics. So yeah, don't hesitate also to check out the Playground. I'll give you the link in the chat. And Ivan, I can let you introduce yourself maybe.
thank you. I love the setup that you have here. It reminds me of feels like a year ago I was in your position while managing the community for another automation tool. So it feels great to be here. A bit of context on my profile. Well, I'm Ivan. I'm Colombian. I'm connecting in the morning. I don't know where all of you guys are connecting. Would love to see it in the chat. And I have a background on no code system building. I've been on all sides of no code, like building my own companies, supporting no code companies, growing companies with no code, and advising companies with no code. I'm currently owner and founder of an automation studio called Overdrive, where we help B2B sales teams and venture capital teams leverage automation, AI, and data science to improve their systems, to improve their sales processes and their pipelines. So that's pretty much a bit of summary, and I will share a bit more about my story and about my profile during the presentation.
Great. um, Guys, if you don't have any question yet, maybe you can share your great masterclass deck. And for the one who can't attend the whole event, the recording will be available on the Playground. So, but better to stay and to ask your question in live. Ivan, can you share your screen? Tell me if you want me to do it, but maybe easier if it's you.
Yeah, no, I'll share it. No worries. By the way, I'm super excited to share this today. This has been kind of something that I've been talking about with Eloise for a few months now, and it's something that I've been preparing for a few months as well. So I'm really happy to share kind of publicly the secrets of how we build all bound systems for myself, for my clients, and I'm gonna have as kind of like expectation settings, you're going to learn how to build your own social selling machine with no code tools that you can use to capture inbound leads and use that to book meetings without all the manual outreach that you would have to go through a regular Allbound process. So the title of this presentation is called Allbound is the new Outbound. And what I want to share is not only what is this new trend about Allbound, but practical strategic approaches through automation to achieve this social selling machine that will allow you to capture leads, and then integrate it, of course, with the growth machine. So we're going to share this machine using Zapier, the growth machine, and a secret tool that I will be revealing. There will be a few like reveals during the presentation, a few perks as well. So stay tuned because you don't want to miss it. So here's the quote that I really like about Adam Robinson. He's one of the kind of like experts of this inbound led outbound motion for go-to-market teams is if response rates go to zero, what go-to-market motion actually works? And that comes to the question for us because the world is changing. The things that worked 5 years ago in the sales approach are not really working the same. People are changing their approach on how they see emails, changing their approach on how they see ads, and then there's this need for people to connect more than, and they are tired of kind of all this outbound spam that they might be receiving. So outbound, as I'm going to show you, is one way to approach kind of your go-to-market. We found that spammy approach that is tiring a lot of people in the B2B space. So who is this for and what today is about, right? Today's goal is that by the end of the session, you will know why and how to automate LinkedIn engagement and how to turn those engagements into qualified leads for your company that you can then outreach. Who is this for? I think this is going to be amazing, especially for sales teams that want to leverage automation. For sales, RevOps, sales enablers looking to automate their operations, growth marketeers, founders that are trying to leverage their network to capture leads, or that are creating active personal brand with also the purpose of capturing leads, right? So if you've been months trying to build a personal brand and trying to like capture leads from it, then this will be specifically useful for you. So what to expect? You're going to understand the impact of outbound. You're going to have an actionable strategy on how to automate this LinkedIn engagement outreach. And then I will showcase a system that you can build yourself. Of course, I own an automation company, but I tried to keep this system to the most simple version so that you can follow along and you can also attempt to build this yourself. So
yeah, this is great to say that this is harder and harder to have responses. I just want to confirm our intuition and our experiment and conviction. Publishing a poll, do you experiment a decrease of your response rates? For us, it's really about looking the motion of the outbound ecosystem moving and changing. So yeah,
it's a changing ecosystem. It's not like people say outbound is dead. I don't really believe that. I believe that relevance is what matters most. So whether you're able to convey relevant messages to your end user through outbound or through inbound led outbound or through ads or through content, that'll work. So this will be one approach that is kind of like a modernized approach on how go-to-market teams are approaching this inbound led outbound approach on how you can turn your inbound leads and then re-engage them to direct contact.
Okay. 80% of people say yes, I experiment a decrease of my response rates.
Great. That's a really good context. Thank you. And just one last comment, just to set expectations, kind of what I like. There are going to be parts of this presentation where we might go a little bit technical on like basic automation setups. So this just to give a bit of context, the person that like does not understand this, feel free to ask questions. This will especially be handy for those that have been using the growth machine and have been familiar somehow to automation tools like Zapier, and they understand basic concepts like what is like a trigger, what is a zap, what is a webhook. We will dive into these details as well. So why me and why is it relevant for me to share this story? Well, as I mentioned, I am an AI automation consultant in Overdrive. I was formerly the head of community at Bardeen. This is a global web automation startup from San Francisco that is leading kind of that effort of how you can capture information from the web and integrate it with automation and AI. So it's really good tool for web scraping. It's really good tool for web automation. And during that time, I was able to support thousands as head of community on how they can set up their automations. I did webinars just like this. And that got me really excited into the automation space to then launch myself to work full-time as an automation consultant. Before that, I worked in startups for 4 years, including a job tech company in Colombia and Currently, I'm a algorithm machine creator and agency partner for automation tools like Relay, Relevance, and venture capital communities like Data Driven VC with my agency. I have experience building these type of lead generation flows, especially for B2B teams and venture capital firms. I've been on this space for around 5 years, and I like to consider myself like an early adopter and kind of a Swiss Army knife of tools, because I am always exploring the new tools that are changing the ecosystem, like the new automation tool, the new RevOps tools. So these are just some of my favorites that I have here, and some of my favorite communities as well, like Relay and of course No Code Ops that I'm part of. So I just spent years like churning these manual processes into automated systems with the purpose of helping others achieve more with less effort, and how they can leverage automation to live better lives, right? About my company, just to give you a quick overview, Overdrive is an automation studio that is on a mission to eliminate 1 million hours of manual repetitive labor. We're a relatively young firm. We've been on the market close to a year now. We've had already a few client successes, and we've built, well, quite many automations on that kind of like intersection between data science, no code, and AI automation. I have a partner that is a data scientist from Berkeley. I myself had a lot of experience in no code, and we have another partner that comes from the like consulting background and works in DoorDash. So we're experts, especially on automating the B2B sales value chain and the venture capital value chain. And in the B2B space, we've done projects related to lead sourcing, qualification, customer insights, personalized outbound messaging, performance monitoring, and much more. So these are some of the past clients we've had, and I guess that's just to show a bit of my expertise, and that is not like my first time showing the system either. So let's go into like, what is Allbound? What is this concept that we're going to be talking all about today? So Allbound, as you can see on this really fun GIF, is the combination between inbound-led sales, right? The content approach, the personal branding approach, with the all-bound sales approach, with like cold messaging, with ads, and how these two merge and work together. So this is a sales and a marketing strategy. In fact, it merges the two of them, so they are well integrated. And it's an approach that helps acquire customers more effectively, as it involves leveraging organic content and strategic outreach to capture qualified leads and drive sales. So kind of a way you can think about it is, if you're already creating content, there's people that follow you. There's people that engage with your profile. There's people that like you. But for most people, they miss on that leverage. They don't realize that they already have people following what they're doing. And Allbound pretty much is like, well, what if you go and outreach them, right? Like, what if you find who are the people that already recognize you and might be qualified for you? What if you go to them? What if you open some doors, right? It's not only them knocking the door on you, it's also you knocking the door with a specific sign of, hey, this person might be interested, or this person might engage with my content, right? So this is like an analogy, right? Like, if your favorite LinkedIn influencer reaches out to you, do you pick up? Let's say Adam Robbins, let's say an AI expert. If they message you on LinkedIn directly, what'll happen? You know, most likely, like, let me know in the comments if you have a different stance, but most likely, you won't think twice. You'll probably open that email, open that LinkedIn message, read their message, pay attention. And that is like the power of inbound retargeting, is that if you're able to build an audience, you can then go to your audience and then kind of like build your own funnel from your own audience, right? So all the new cool tools and AI and cold techniques are really important, but I do believe that sometimes we can go to the basics, and we do not need to get lost in them, because there's really simple formula here that you can follow and never miss, right? Become an authority on your space, create content consistently, especially talking about B2B here, right? Like, for instance, creating content on LinkedIn. And once you've created that consistency, once your numbers are improving, once you manage to create engagement, then go to your network, right? Reach out to those who look at your profile many times. Reach out to those who engage with your comments. Reach out to new contacts. Reach out to your followers. because you actually have more leverage than you think. You do have a lot of people liking your post. Like, people don't realize, oh, 30 likes and I don't know, 800 impressions. That's a lot of people. Like, try to get them in a room, right? So remember that you might have more leverage, and sometimes it's about you going to them and opening those doors. So this is a like kind of like meme that represents the outbound versus allbound approach, right? Like, you can either, when you're going to market at the beginning, if you're trying to like build your own sales mechanisms, you can either get really complicated with kind of like, oh, how do I do cold outbound from scratch? I need to do 5 clay tables, icebreakers, like get complicated with so many possibilities, or like simple approach, reach out to people who already like you, right? So let's see, why is this relevant? So I think there's 4 things here of why outbound matters. Cold outreach is becoming less effective because people are just getting tired of unsolicited messages. And this goes specifically talking to the unrelevant messages, to the typical approach of let's download a code list out of Apollo and outreach this segment. Like, those playbooks are getting repeated and repeated so often that people are just like, they don't really care anymore to open those emails. So I think there's some type of friction that is generated in cold outreach as of lately because of precisely how popular it has become. Now, second thing is social selling is thriving. Like, you see a lot of people talking about this on social, and it's pretty much how this trend is changing into social selling through authentic connection, through like people that you know, through like building that conversation one-on-one with people, because that feels very different than a conversation that you get via cold email, right? And third thing is intent-based outbound is at its peak, and kind of like it's pretty much how you go to the person with a right intent, with a right signal. So a signal, there's many types of signals, but it can be either cold or it can be more warm, right? Like, if somebody changed job in the last 2 months and you outreach them, sure, that might work, but it's still a playbook that is very common, right? It might feel spammy, versus warmer approaches that are more intent-based, inbound, like, hey, I saw you followed my profile. I'm curious to know, what are you looking to learn, right? So that feels different. It's more like a connection, right? So this creates a combination between this warm, high intent pipeline, and like helps you create a pipeline out of people that are already engaging with you. So some advantages of inbound-led outbound. So this approach allows you to connect with the right people at the right time without all the noise, right? So you can focus on high intent prospects, and your salespeople do not have to waste time on like managing cold prospects. You can just focus on the ones that have a higher intent. It's more efficient and profitable. Smaller teams can approach this. It's a good go-to-market strategy, and it's good for bootstrapping. And there's like other things like it's a future-proof method like this, like whether this has been working for years, but until now, we're now figuring out how to scale it, right? Like 5 years ago, you're going to do the same approach, going to people on LinkedIn that connected to you and then continuing the conversations. But now this approach, you can still do it. It's easy to start. And now there's actual ways that we can scale it. And I will show you how in this webinar, right? So I think that this is one quote from Adam Robinson. He's one of the leaders on this space. He talked about how this motion can be efficient and disruptive way to sell when you are even venture backed, especially for products that have a high conversion rate. Like it's high cost of acquisition, high tickets. Then it's really worth doing this approach because, well, if you have a funnel of people that are qualified for you with high ticket item, and then you make that funnel, even though it's a lot of like perceived manual work, you can still draw some really good conversions out of it. So let's do an overview of how this can be scaled, like how a system that will allow this work. So the main stages of a system like this are, first, you set up your inbound systems, right? So you set up your content mechanisms, you set up your consistent content creation, and once you're doing that, you need to be able to capture those signals. You need to optimize your profile, capture the signals of people that are engaging with you, whether that is like reacting with your content, commenting, following you. And then once you have that information, you can then start automating some steps there. Like if you're able to find who reacts to your profile, then you can actually get that information, enrich it, qualify it, and use that information for your campaigns. So I want to make sure that you guys are following me. If you have any questions, please interrupt me, Eloise, and
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
take a step back and explain it.
So we don't have any question for the moment. It's really clear, but I think everybody is really exciting to go in the concrete
All right,
flow. I don't
steps.
know if people are really familiar with Allbound, Outbound, Inbound, but I think maybe this approach. Maybe you tell me in the chat, guys, if you are familiar, if you need more contextual information about the approach, or if you want to deep dive in the technical part. And also because we have 40 minutes left, and I know your presentation, there is a lot of things, so that's why I'm asking. We have a question of Marin. Seems a nice approach, but seems to take time, right?
Yes, totally. And we will dive into that. What I want to share today is like how you can go beyond that, like how manual this approach is, and how you can start automating it. So yeah, like any other question before we dive into that?
No, people are saying let's deep dive. Seems intuitive and straightforward. All good things with lots of value take time, of course.
Of
um,
course, of course.
but yeah, I think yeah, we are all convinced of the approach. So maybe
All right, yeah, let's deep dive. So I just want to emphasize, like, this is something that some of the best players in Outbound are now trying to figure out, and some are already doing it. So here's some highlight to some creators that I find there might be really relevant if you're diving into Allbound. And let's dive into, like, if everybody if is familiar with this, what is holding people back, right? Like, what is the hard part about this? So first, B2B content is worthless if you don't engage, and engaging is a lot of work, right? So CEOs, top voices are putting in content, B2B marketings push out personal branded content, but they don't integrate it in any way with their sales team. So that is a problem. Like, they put out inbound, they do a great job, they put in lead magnets, but they are not delivering those qualified leads to their sales team. Now, second is that there's an endless loop of manual work, right? You're stuck into going through who engages with you, who followed you, who connected with you, who viewed your profile. There's so many signals that it's just too much work to do manually, right? You would have to hire maybe an appointment setter, an SDR, just with the only like work of doing this manual approach, and it's not really effective. You cannot really track any data. So the cost of inaction is really high as well, because as you are creating content and all of these people engage with you, you might be missing on potential opportunities. So let's go into how this can happen. So my journey into Outbound, just to give a quick overview, is that I started doing this manually. And like, I was creating content consistently on LinkedIn, and I started manually outreaching people that engaged with me, like people that follow me or viewed my profile. Then I realized, like, hey, this can be automated. I came from like a scraping automation tool, so I started making my first experiments on how would I automate this to capture that information, to qualify it, to engage with prospects. And now this is kind of like an end system that we offer to our clients, and I use myself. My results from this experiment, because I was building it for clients, but a few weeks ago I implemented it for myself, and I ran the system to capture LinkedIn engagements, reactions, and comments only, and then qualified the leads and automated the outreach for the qualified ones. The result was that in 5 days, I found 40 qualified leads during that week, where I had like one post go viral, and then I had 5 booked meetings out of that outreach. So I do believe that you can build really good funnels out of this if you're consistently creating content. I'll show you how to do the same with an even simpler system. Now, there's also real results. Like, we supported a company called Trora that was trying to also capture inbound engagements from their follower network, from the people who follow the CEO. We made that process for them, and they pretty much build a database of leads ready for outreach. So let's dive in how this system works, right? So this B2B Allbound engine, how it works is that this removes all the guesswork of lead generation. So it takes care of capturing, qualifying, messaging, retargeting, all of those qualified prospects on LinkedIn. So it helps you capture those interest signals and deliver personalized outreach messages. So if we see this like diagram, what you would pretty much do is you would have this setup where you capture inbound and that leads to outbound, right? Like that's literally inbound led outbound, same synonym as allbound. So you have your landing page that creates content, you capture engagement. I will dive into the details of how to make this happen, right? But for now, I'm just going in an overview. So you capture engagement, you're able to send that engagement to an automation tool where you can do your enrichment, your qualification to find who are relevant people for you. You can do that based on information from their LinkedIn profiles, from their companies, and other fields that you might need. And then you integrate that once you create messages for the people that you want to outreach. You integrate that with your outreach tool, in this case, like Growth Machine, and then you populate your outreach list with those messages for only qualified profiles, and then you would launch a campaign, and then you would nurture on DMs. That's pretty much the approach. It's like how you would capture engagements, automate that qualification, automate the messaging, and then send it to outbound tools. So that's pretty much how we're going to approach it today. And the system that I'm going to show you today is going to focus on only capturing inbound leads from social, specifically reactions and comments, and how you can qualify, prioritize your efforts, and then create those messaging and automate the warm outbound. So the sales playbooks that you'll be able to use from this are two main ones. With this system that I'm going to show you, you can, first sales playbook is inbound retarget. So you can pretty much re-engage with people who engage with your posts. So there's a few angles like in the messaging that you can send that are very warm. So there's a curiosity angle, for instance, like, hey, Ivan, thanks for engaging with my post. What about Allbound caught your attention? Maybe at your service angle, like offering help, like, hey, thank you for supporting me on LinkedIn. Is there anything I can do for you? I happen to have this offer that might be relevant. A lead magnet offer can also be a really good approach. So you can be like, hey, as you engage with this topic, yeah, I think you might also like this resource. So you would give them value up front. Or you can also use the same system that I'm going to show you to respond to lead magnets. So if you do a LinkedIn post with the typical approach of like, hey, drop a comment and I will share this resource with you, you can actually automate that responses with the same system. So you can be like, hey, I noticed your comment on my post about X. Here's the resource, and you send the resource. Are you looking into this at all, for instance? And then that is the first playbook. And the second playbook that you will be able to set up with the same system, but I will not deep dive on today, but it's pretty much how you would do the same for competitors. So how you can monitor and tap into people engaging with your competitors or thought leaders content. So this is also very relevant. It's fresh data and signal based. So you can do angles like, hey, I saw you engage with Adam Robinson's content about Outbound, for instance, and thought this guide would be useful for X. Or like, hey, I saw you engage with Jeremy's post about like Growth Machine, wondering if you're looking into these type of solutions. So these are some playbooks. So you imagine the type of like output that you would get from this. So how we make this happen is through these 4 steps, right? So we have a stack of tools that will help us achieve this. And this is the minimal stack of tools that I thought will be like the best option for you to do it yourself instead of hiring someone, right? So this is like the easiest approach that I found to solving this puzzle of how you can achieve this. So the stack of tools here are Trigify, that will help you capture the engagement, Zapier, that will help you with all the automations. So Zapier has both when this then that automations, but it also has a very useful Zapier tables that you can use to set up the kind of like that table format of creating your messages, qualifying, sending that information afterwards to the Growth Machine. So that is pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to capture the engagements with Trigify. We're going to automate the data entry, automate the qualification, the message generation with Zapier, and then send that information to the Growth Machine for the multi-channel outreach. So what are the costs? You can take a screenshot of this so I don't take a lot of time here, but pretty much all of this can be set up on a basic like approach with minimum of like probably 120, 150 USD, just for your consideration, because you're gonna need kind of like the actual tools for this. So must use tools for this are, I am missing Liquid Machine here, of course, but Trigify, Zapier, or Clay, that is another option if you're looking to scale, but this has a higher price point. Our table is another option if you were looking into a different database, but that is a bit more complex setup. And of course, like Growth Machine, which you would use for the outreach. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this would require an intermediate plan. I think it's a pro plan that allows the Zapier integration to work. So that's what you would need in the Growth Machine. Some considerations. I think the best approach to begin is Zapier, because you might begin like small and then you scale, right? So begin small, it's more intuitive with Zapier, and then you can scale into tools like Clay later on when you're looking to do more comprehensive enrichment, or when you're paying too much on Zapier, pretty much. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, just to precise something, we do have a lot of integration in La Growth Machine, and we do have integration with Clay, of course, with Zapier, and the next one will be Trigify next month.
Oh, that's amazing. Hey,
Yeah.
well, that's gonna make things very much easier as well. We're gonna have to do an updated webinar. So that's great. No, anyway, that is really good news. I'm glad you've been talking to Max. Shout out to him. Great builder. Now let's set up, like, let's dive into how to make this happen, right? Like, as of the current setup, how you can achieve this. And the reason I propose this like middleman, like Zapier, is precisely because you will need some automations in between to find qualified leads and then to generate those messages. Now, last consideration, this can also evolve. Like the same setup that you have here, you can evolve it to put in different sources. So not only comments and reactions, but you can also start introducing new sources for capturing engagement, like website visitors that you can get through tools like RB2B, profile viewers like Teamfluence, through Teamfluence, or profile followers like with Phantom Buster or Verdine. And then you will be able to expand your inbound lead capture mechanisms. So if you ever need any custom help, Overdrive can help you set this up in the most cost-efficient and scalable way, right? So let's go into step one, how we would make this happen. So step one, of course, you have to have the right base. Your LinkedIn profile, you're creating content, and then you already have your content strategy set up, right? And then this is the most important thing, because if you're not consistent creating content, you're not going to generate engagement that you can then funnel. So you need to step up your game, be consistent on content, and that is like this number one. So if you're like fresh to LinkedIn, I would recommend like making the first month kind of less focused on creating content before diving into an outbound strategy like this. Once you've cracked the code of content, or someone in your company, maybe the CEO, maybe the chief of marketing, is the kind of like personal brand behind the company, then this is the best place to start. Like they already have that authority, they're already creating content. We can set that system up for them. So third step is capturing engagement. So the way we would capture engagement is through a tool like Trigify to automatically capture these engagement signals, like reactions and comments, and then monitor those interactions. So I do recommend that. So you will be able to set up like a monitor for your own content, for business partners, and even competitors. So let me show you how this looks like from Trigify, just to have a quick like view of the tool. So this is Trigify. It's pretty much a signal-based database of leads. So you will be able to find leads based on specific signals. Some of them are social signals, and that is the feature we care about, the social signals feature, because this will show us a database of people who are engaging with you. For you to set this up, you would it's really simple. You would just add a profile, set up your URL, configure it on like how often you want it to be monitored, and that's it. It'll start doing that, looking up daily of who is engaging with your profile. So for instance, we have here like Eloise. she engaged with me on a post about Allbound, like announcing this masterclass, and we have information about her profile, like likes, comments, like the company, the head count, and all of these is very helpful for us to also find the qualified people in our network, right? So what do we want to do from here is like, if you want to keep it super simple, you can do the manual approach from here. You can just go through Trigify, manually qualify people, filter. You can filter as well, like the ones that might be relevant for you. What I propose is automating this process. Is like qualifying automatically and then generating the messages. And that's why we go into the next step, that is connecting this to a table with Zapier in this case. So all of these have integrations. Once you set up your like table that is tracking information, both of yourself or even competitors. For instance, here I have this is fetching data of the the CEO of the group machine, right? So and other profiles like that you can set up here. These are just sample. I'm not actually using them right now, but this is also very powerful if you want to outreach based on your competitors' content or based on thought leaders. So now the next step is we would integrate. So you can set up a webhook here with Zapier. So you would send that information through a webhook. So you would connect it to a Zapier table, and that way you would use an automation that's pretty much like this. So you would catch a webhook, sending it from Trigify to Zapier, and then that will send all the information from Trigify into Zapier, and you will have all the access to the fields that Trigify offers. So you can some tips on what's going to happen here is you're going to be able to observe the data that's provided via API from Trigify. So you will be able to see the person data, the company data, the engagement data. And I do recommend that once you do this, you observe which data points you can actually leverage from this, like which are the fields that you care about, right? This will provide you basic information from person, company, and that engagement. Like, is it a like? Is it a comment? What was the comment? And when did that happen, right? Basic information from the company and the profile. And then another recommendation is to like set up like once you do this, set up a loop. So in case the Trigify sends you a lot of information, you would go through each record individually, and then you will be able to process it. I can take a pause here just to we respond like this step. I think it gets into the technical parts. So is there anything you would like me to clarify or show, Eloise? I can also show my setup.
So yeah, guys, don't hesitate to ask all your questions about this technical part. Maybe, and I can't wait to have this integration with Trigify Live. But maybe we can just mention the intent data that we have in La Growth Machine. You know, this little feature when you import a contact that you can. If you go in La Growth Machine and go in import lead, you have the option to import lead from LinkedIn. Yeah, import from LinkedIn. Here we go. And there you have, so you have.
Yeah, this is for the LinkedIn search, right?
No, sorry. This is not this. It's about import from LinkedIn intent. So like commentators and likers, attendees to event. But this is odd. You don't have it in import
Maybe
from.
Meta. I would love to use that. That would be great.
Yeah. Wait. Maybe I will share my screen. But don't hesitate, guys, to ask
Yeah,
any question.
these are very useful because they can also allow for other playbooks for outreach. Like another one that works really well is like events. Like if you have an event coming by with your target audience, you can actually put in the link here, import all of those leads, and then send a campaign to prepare for that event, like with a message like warming up the people that are going.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's continue here with focus on this use case.
Yeah, I will just share my screen once again. Do you see my screen?
Uh,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So when you are here, you go in leads, import leads, import from LinkedIn, and here you have import people who commented the post, follow my company, attend an event, like the post. So it's any post, any event that you can precise as
Mm,
just
that is cool. Yeah.
you can repost the URL. It's not just yours; it's any post. So it could be the competitor post. It's really a great alternative, let's say, to Trigify.
Yeah.
Less automated, but it's a really
Yeah.
great tool to have also.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like if you're getting started, that might also be a good approach to experiment, right? Like if you first want to do the experiment and reach out to people who like the post, that can work.
Yeah,
So let's continue. Which tool? This was like Real Machine.
this is what like Growth Machine.
That
um,
these are native features that
yes, yeah.
are really cool. So should I continue? Am I sharing screen? Yeah, I think I'm sharing. So let's continue with this setup and how to make it happen, right? So the like the only technical part that's perceived as technical for non-technical people is like webhooks. But don't worry, like this is actually just you go into Zapier, you create this action called webhooks, and it'll give you a URL that you'll paste into Trigify. That's it. Like it's simple, and from there you're going to be able to see the different fields that come through catching that data. From there, you will be able to start making different steps to automate information. So what we care about here is to save that information into the table, but also save it already qualified. So what we're going to do here is that the next step is going to be setting up the table. Before you save it, of course, these are some of the fields. If you want to take a screenshot that I set up on mine, I'm going to share the table quickly so you have an idea of what type of table I'm talking about. So Zapier has these different automation products, right? Like SAPs, tables, interfaces. What we care about here is SAPs and tables. So you can create a table from scratch and put in the fields that I'm mentioning here, like the profile that is getting monitored, the name, source, the message received, the LinkedIn URL, the time of that happening, location, title, company. These are the ones that I find relevant, but there's others that you can also access from Trigify. Now, in my personal opinion, this is enough information. I don't need to enrich it anymore. This is enough information for me to qualify. And then the way these three fields are happening is through AI, the lead ranking, qualification, and reasoning. So these are really important because you really don't want to spam everyone. And you should focus on the people that are qualified for your company. Now, the way you would do that is you add a step. So imagine you will go into ChatGPT, right? You go into ChatGPT and you tell it like, hey, here's all the information from this person, right? And their company. And then ChatGPT, do you think they're qualified for my company? Here's here's what makes a lead qualified in my company. And you would give it that context. So that's pretty much what you would do through this step, which is telling ChatGPT like to qualify for you. Show here. So you would pretty much use a qualification prompt in this step. So you would capture that information. You would then send information from each row that enters from Trigify, and you would prompt ChatGPT like something like this. This sample prompt, pretty much like your lead qualification analyst, help me qualify this with a like here's an example. Now I'm going to give you all the fields that I have available of the person and the company. Here's who my company is focusing on and who our ICP is, and here's the qualification criteria. What are those signals that makes profile qualified, right? So that's the piece that you most time need to spend on, like intentionally. You need to think about who is a qualified lead for your company, and then you would put that into the prompt. I've done kind of like my own process to creating this qualification criteria. So I set up this kind of like um, this form for you guys if you want to just streamline it and then just put in, this is a relevance AI form that you can fill in. and you will be able to copy it if you want into your account, and you would just put your company URL, some notes on who your company's focus is, who is qualified for you, and your website URL, and this will format everything that you would need for you to actually like input that information into the prompt. So it'll give you like the details that you would need to fill up that prompt here.
This is so great.
So how that looks like on Zapier.
Yeah.
Sorry?
No, I said this is so great, so valuable. Thank you very much, Ivan. Some people asked if the presentation, like the slides, will be shared next to the recording. I said yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to. That's why I prepared it for you. So yeah, let me just for you to see how this would look like from Zapier, right? You would catch a webhook, you would create a loop from each item, and something that I personally struggled with was like this piece. So you would need to put in each one of the fields that you would like to capture from the webhook, and then you would like pretty much refer to each one of these here. So you would capture them from the loop, from the webhook, and that will help you have all of these fields available so you can save them into the table, and so you can use them in the next steps. So this is an important step, because Trigify might throw you one profile per day, but it can also throw you 5, and then it'll run into a lot of errors. So that's just a bit of technical detail. Now, how this looks like the prompt itself, like for me, like you have here like the fields that I'm linking. You have here like, oh, this is perfect. I have an LOE section here. So name, title, location, the company, the industry, funding if found, it's not found, website, like location, employee count, company size, the description of the company, who is my focus for my company and who am I targeting, and then what are the signals of qualified people in my company, and who are the signals of intermediately qualified, like that are like and then who are unqualified, right? Like, so if it has, for instance, less than 10 employees, is not really qualified for my services, so I would not intentionally outreach them, right? So that is, and then here's like some like kind of like common errors to avoid that I put into the prompt, so it helps me perfect it. This is going to be, to be honest, the part that you most need to like kind of like improve with time, is like improving this prompt, because the qualification will give you kind of the best results as you do this approach. The next thing you would do is you would simply capture the results from this. This is just like simple line of code that you would put here with JavaScript using Zapier. I am not familiar with code, right? Like, I found this in a blog, so don't worry, it's not too technical. You just put in here like, what is the response? You put in the code, and this will give you the information ready for you to like use it when you're creating those records in your table. So you can just like refer to those fields that are the output of that ChatGPT conversation. So you would be able to save inside your table all of those fields, and you would already have kind of like most of it saved here. So I'm gonna do a quick experiment. I'm gonna get one person from my social signals, and I'm gonna send it, and hopefully it works. I hope it doesn't like disappoint me this time. So I'm gonna get here a friend of mine, and I'm gonna save to export to webhook, and because it's already integrated, I can also send that individual one, or I can send the list. By default, it's gonna send it every day, right? Like, it has that integration, so it'll automatically push leads whenever there's new data. So it'll send that information, and then I will get that information here. And what I'll get is all of these fields, right? Name, blah, blah, blah. And then I would also get the qualification. Now, the next step, like what we would need to do, like just thinking strategically, is, okay, once we have the people, we now need to focus only on the qualified ones, and then generate messages that are targeted for them, so we can then outreach them and send them to a growth machine, because you're gonna need a message that you can send. So that is the next step. So let's go into the presentation once again. The next step is generating the messages, right? So you're gonna need a step here that whenever a new row enters and the person is qualified, right, then you would generate a message with a ChatGPT prompt that you can also be creative here. You can think what is the like messaging that you want to use. You can use the templates that I shared before. You can use the like this sample prompt, and you can pretty much experiment with the type of message that you want AI to generate. The good thing is you can like you already have really good data for AI to do a good job because you already have signal-based data, company data, and person data. So you can tell ChatGPT to pretty much create a huge sort of messages, like different types of messages, and you can experiment with that. So here's the sample prompt that I use. So it pretty much asks it with a few templates, like here's a general template, here's one for likes, here's one for comments, and here's the information that I get from the contact that you can use to personalize those messages. That's how I approach it. You can also use your own approach. Then this would update that record in the table with the new message, and then this will send a message on Slack that will be useful for my team to learn that there's a new lead, right? So I will not share my Slack, but pretty much on that message, you will be able to send information here. Oops. You would send information like, 1 second, send Slack message. But what I send here is like for the qualified people that are captured through this, you will automatically have messages on Slack with that information. So let's see if I have kind of like set up. So here's the message, pretty much like, hey, I like this person from the company with this information from this company. This is their qualification. This is their reasoning. It was identified from comments and they commented this. Here's a message draft. So even if you are not really into cold outbound or like integrating automatically, then you can even send those messages manually. You can delegate that to an SDR to send those messages, right? So until here, there's already a lot of value just by communicating the warm leads in your network that are qualified and communicating that on Slack. So if you get it until like if you get until here, you already have a win, right? You already are set and ready to send those messages. And pretty much that is what happens here. So you generate those messages, and then once you have those messages, let's see the table, right? You have those messages that for the qualified ones, for instance, here, this person is qualified. So, oh yeah, like Bryce, for instance, like the founder of the growth machine. Of course, he's qualified. And then that's pretty funny. Yeah, so here's like an outreach message that it created, like, hey Bryce, thank you for liking my post about the masterclass. Was there something specific that resonated with you? If you're exploring ways to enhance your outreach or have any goals in mind, I'll be glad to chat, right? And that changes, like it also personalizes it a bit depending on each person, and you can use whatever approach you want to the messaging. So this is the one I'm using, whether it's a like or it's a comment. I am like, for instance, this one is a comment. I really appreciate your comment about my post on the shifting market. What are your projects right now? Is there anything I can help? I really prefer to just open conversations. I don't like to sell. People don't like to go into LinkedIn, receive a connection message, and then the first thing is like a pitch slap back. No, these are people that engage with you, that like they like you. You also don't want to just pitch slap them, but you can engage them in conversations. That is a social selling, right? And from there, you can start nurturing those conversations. And then what would happen here is like, this is like additional thing that if you want to do, you can do it. But pretty much I added a button here to generate or refine message. So for instance, if someone is like intermediate, so it didn't create that, let's see this one, for instance, this person, Sergio, so this person is unqualified, but let's say, oh, I know Sergio, he's actually qualified. I can be like, hey, how's your family, by the way? And then I can generate or refine a message. So this is another automation that you would be able to set up from here. And that is the fun part of this. Like you can set up your own automations. In this case, this automation would get that input and then run it through one of my templates to see what best works. And then it'll generate the message. I might need to do some refining, but this is like kind of an example of how you would approach it. And then that is like, if you want to also have that like human in the loop, this will be very helpful. I prefer not to just assume that every outreach message is perfect, at least at the beginning. So you can use this table to come here, check the messages, and then approve them and send them to Outbound. You can either do it automatically if you're already very confident for your prompt, or you can like do this manual check, checking the messages, seeing if there's anything you would add, and then when you're ready, you would then, let's see, price, oops, I would send it to Outbound. So this button, as you can see here, will integrate with Lagrowth Machine. So you create a button, send to Outbound. It should filter for text shorter than 255 characters, unfortunately, for API restrictions. But basically, for those messages, it'll be able to send it to Lagrowth Machine to an audience, and you would create that lead. So let's see if I have here an example. So here's my flow. You get this information, you filter to make sure that the outreach message exists. I put two paths, right? Like one where the message is okay, and then you would just simply send it to the growth machine, and then you would input all of this information, right? Like the custom attribute could be the message and any other thing that you would like to send. So the growth machine, for context, has these fields as default that you would receive via API, and then you can also send any other additional fields through custom attributes. So in this case, I'm sending the custom attribute message, like the outreach message in a custom attribute. And then here, this flow is like, I don't want to waste a lot of time here, but this basically paraphrases in case the message is longer. So then it can send that message. And then it'll update that record with kind of like an update here that, okay, it was added to the campaign, check, great. So when I go into the growth machine, I can actually see now that Bryce is here. I can see that Eloise is here, right? So let's see what happened. I think I already set this up, and she even responded. So she replied. That's great. This is a really funny inception moment, but this is pretty much the information that I sent to Eloise. I sent her like this message, right? And then I set up my campaign, and that's the other thing. Like once you send information to the growth machine, that's when you can do the magic with the growth machine. So you will have like one message. You can also generate maybe an email message if you want, and you can also send that to the growth machine. And from the growth machine, you can also have a lot of like creative campaigns. For instance, enriching the leads and then finding their emails and then sending them not only LinkedIn, but also email campaigns, and then even voice notes. The one I did as an experiment for this one was, let's see the action. Oh, I think it's edit campaign, right?
Yeah, edit campaign.
Edit campaign. And then what I did here is I took one of the templates and then I modified it a bit. So this campaign receives a person, visits a profile, likes a post. If it's a contact, then if it's not a contact, it'll follow them, send them an invitation, then send them a message. Then it'll basically send that message and then send a voice note. So this voice note for me was pretty much like, hey, just checking if you received my last message. Thank you again for engaging with my content. Something very simple, and then that's the end of the sequence. And the other sequence, it's sending a message, like the same message, and a voice note, same approach. So this is a very basic tool, like a very basic setup. And you can also get really creative on how you want to send these with Twitter, with email. I found the experience really cool with the growth machine, so I really appreciate that. And I think it's a very powerful tool. So anyway, let's just wrap this up because we're running out of time. But pretty much that is the setup. Like you set up the campaign, you automate the follow-ups, you're ready to launch your campaign, and then from there, everything is just kind of like nurturing. So you launch your campaign, and the part where really humans need to be in the loop is on nurturing the conversations. It's time to do that social selling. It's time to nurture the conversations once they reply. This automates probably 60% of the job, right? So you still need to put in a bit of the effort on closing those conversations, on social selling, offering help, qualifying during the conversation, inviting them to a discovery. But this will always keep you with a funnel of qualified leads and the outreach automatically. So this will do most of the heavy lifting for you. I have a resource ready to share, so I can send both this presentation and a more detailed guide on how to do this with Clay
and with Zapier. So if you're, well, I'll send you the one with Clay so you have a different perspective. So if you want this resource, you can DM me in LinkedIn or send me an email, and I'll share this step-by-step guide with you. We have built a more evolved version of this where we build it for you in less than 4 weeks with recurring improvements, customized for you with custom enrichments, and where we also tap into more tools, not only Trigify, but also think bigger. Think like, how would you capture profile viewers? How would you capture followers? How would you add people that you met on an event? And how you can have this like engine as your go-to place to add people that are top of funnel but know you, and then you can start building your funnel to re-engage them automatically and outreach them, and then pretty much have your funnel always moving with conversations. This is just a bit of context on what we offer in Overdrive. I'll be really happy to offer an automation audit to anyone here. Thank you for spending this time with us. So pretty much on audit, what I would offer for you is like, we would see your current challenges, your current setup for automation. We can give you some advice on like sales automation tools, on improvements for your tech stack, and then maybe there might be ways to collaborate as well. Here's some of the offers that we have related to Allbound. So we do have ready pre-built setups for this, for kind of like this ability to capture qualified leads, the ability to do the entire automation, and also include these other sources like profile viewers, like followers. And then if you're just getting into content, which this has happened to some of our clients, that they do not have that content system, so we also set them systems to streamline their content creation process. So pretty much their entire strategy is set up to create, to capture engagement, qualify, nurture, and then have this kind of like this go-to-market motion for them. So we shared a bit
Ivan,
about Overdrive,
we
and I
don't
think
hear
that's a
you
good place
really
to
great.
stop. Oh,
Yeah,
oops.
we don't really hear you really. I think the quality decreased. Maybe the ear are disconnected or something, but
Maybe that. Let me see what.
we don't have
Oh,
any. Yeah, and we don't see you. Yeah, maybe.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, and the camera, yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
Oh my
you.
God, whatever happened here? Sorry. Where did you lost me?
No, we had everything, but just the quality was decreased. But
Okay,
yeah, we
okay.
do have everything.
Got it. Yeah. So like, did you get like, okay,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got the important things. This is pretty much like, well, you get it. Like, if you want to work with us, we can explore that. I'll be happy to show you around what we do. Our main expertise is lead generation automations, this type of outbound flows. We support a lot of B2B companies on setting up their systems. So beyond this, we've also done like CRM integrations, like web automations, AI agents. We are on the like front of the innovative revenue ops tools. So we find ways to find the best tooling and customize projects for you that like would help you either save time or increase your revenue in your company. So we only take projects that have direct ROI. So if you want to explore with us, there's no commitment to explore either. So I do invite you to take that like free audit if you're interested, and we can see how we can support your company. So just for you to have like this last kind of like for you to remember is like, ask yourself if this is worth it for you. So ask yourself these questions, right? Like, is this worth it if all you did was eliminate the manual follow-ups and you would focus on social nurturing and closing deals? Would it be worth it for you if your sales team woke up to a Slack channel packed with qualified leads? Would it be worth it for you if you would reduce the cost per lead up to 50%? So in which cases would this work for you? That is something that you would need to kind of like answer yourself. But I do think that this is like one strategy that is very replicable for many types of B2B businesses, especially the ones that want to be active on social. So I'm happy to hear if you have any questions, and I wish you a lot of luck building your Allbound systems.
Nice. Thank you very much, Ivan. So I don't know if the people is shy or if everything was really clear or if they are
I
good of
doubt it.
like you.
I think there's pieces of this puzzle that can get
Yeah,
technical and like
yeah,
so,
they have to take all the information
of
and
course.
to nurture this, and don't hesitate, yeah, to follow Ivan on LinkedIn or to talk with him on the playground. Typically he's on the playground. You can ask your for help and challenge your use case. Also he has a deal with us that give you 1 month for free to test La Growth Machine instead of 14 days. So don't hesitate to to use his link. Sorry, it's the morning for you. It's the late evening for me.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, thank you very much, Ivan. It was really valuable. A lot of super practical tips and workflow and playbooks. So really great. I can't wait to publish it on the playground in the masterclass recording section. You will have the videos and also his slides. And yeah, so if you don't guys have, see you don't have any question, we'll close this live.
all right. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I hope you guys lots of luck on this outbound journey. And I'm happy to help in any way. Like, don't be shy. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I can give a tip or two, whatever I can help. So I've been on this game. I was a community builder before, so I do like to help people whenever they're like exploring their automations.
Thank you very much. See you guys on the playground. There is a different live that are coming. One with Robert Bradley. So I can't wait also to have this live, and I will I will I will tell you bye, guys. Bye,
Thank
Ivan.
you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.